Hey everyone. So I got a message last week that stopped me in my tracks. It was from a mom, let's call her Sarah. And she wrote something I think a lot of parents feel but don't always say out loud. She said, "My son used to be so responsible. He'd finish his homework without being asked. He had goals. He seemed, I don't know, together. But lately, he's checked out, distracted, doesn't care about school. When I try to talk to him, he shuts down. I'm terrified he's throwing away his future. How do I help him? And honestly, how do I stop spiraling?" If you're a parent, you probably felt that in your chest. Today, I don't want to give you 5 steps to motivate your teen. I want to talk about something deeper, what's actually happening beneath the surface, both in your teenager and in you. Because here's what I've noticed. Sometimes the problem isn't that our kids have stopped trying, it's that we've stopped breathing. Let's dig in. First, let's get real about adolescence. This is not a stability phase. It's a construction zone. The brain is literally rewiring itself. Here's the thing that neuroscience keeps confirming. The emotional and reward centers of a teenager's brain develop way earlier than the parts responsible for planning, impulse control, and seeing consequences. So what does that mean in real life? It means motivation becomes novelty-driven. Your kid might hyper-focus on learning guitar for 3 weeks, then ghost it completely. It means peer approval suddenly matters more than your approval. And yes, I know that stings. It means long-term thinking is still under construction. When you say this will affect your college applications, their brain hears blah blah, future dimension blah. So when your 15-year-old studies obsessively for 2 weeks, then seems completely disengaged the next week, that inconsistency? Often it's not rebellion, it's development. Now, I'm not saying ignore red flags. Depression, substance use, complete isolation, those need attention. But a dip in grades, some moodiness, testing boundaries? That's often growth in disguise. Teens experiment. They try on identities like jackets at a thrift store. They fail. They recalibrate. And sometimes the best thing we can do is not panic at every fluctuation. I know. Easier said than done. Which brings us to the harder part. Let's talk about what happens inside you when your kid's grades drop. What actually hurts? Is it the GPA itself, or is it the story that immediately forms in your mind? Stories like, if this continues, he won't get into college. If he doesn't succeed, I've failed as a parent. His entire future is collapsing. Notice the leap from missed homework to ruined life in about 3 seconds. Here's what's really happening. Your teen's behavior triggers uncertainty. Uncertainty triggers fear. And fear tries desperately to regain control. So we lecture, we monitor, we hover, we escalate emotionally. And here's the cruel irony. The more anxious we become, the less safe our teens feel. Think about it. When you feel judged or pressured, do you become more motivated or do you shut down? Same for them. So the real turning point isn't, how do I make my kid try harder? It's, how do I stop freaking out? And I want to be clear about something here. This insight is for you. It's for your own nervous system, your own peace. Please don't weaponize this. Don't walk up to another parent and say, well, if you just calmed down, your kid would be fine. That's not how this works. Anxiety is complex. Parenting is hard. And advice that helps one person can feel crushing to another. This is about what you might explore for yourself, not what you should prescribe to anyone else. So, what do you actually do when you feel that panic rising? Here's a simple framework I've found useful. Step 1, pause the catastrophe. Catch yourself mid-story. Notice when your brain jumps from, he got a C to, he'll be unemployed at 30. Just notice it. You don't have to believe it. Step 2, regulate your body. This sounds annoyingly simple, but it works. Slow your breathing. Take a walk. Do dishes. Something physical and repetitive. Your body calms your mind, not the other way around. Step 3, separate your identity from theirs. This is the big one. Your child's academic performance is not your worth as a parent. Read that again. Their failures are not your failures. Their successes are not your redemption. When you fuse your identity with your child's outcomes, every grade becomes existential. But when you differentiate, when you create psychological space between you and them, something shifts. You become a stable base instead of an anxious monitor. And here's what teens actually need: not control, not indifference, but stability. They need to know that your love isn't conditional on their performance, that you're steady even when they're wobbly. Freedom to experiment plus an emotionally regulated parent? That's the combination that actually works. Okay, so practically speaking, what changes? Instead of, why aren't you studying? Do you know how competitive college is? You're throwing your life away. Try. I've noticed school feels harder lately. Want to talk about it? No pressure. Instead of, you're wasting your potential. Try. I trust you're figuring things out. I'm here when you need me. You still keep structure. Reasonable bedtimes, screen limits, expectations around chores. But you reduce the emotional charge. When teens feel emotionally safe, they're more likely to re-engage on their own timeline. And growth that comes from the inside, that lasts. Growth that's forced, that's just compliance until they leave home. If you're a parent watching this, I want you to hear something. Your worry, it comes from love. I know that. But love works best when it feels steady, not frantic. Your calm is more powerful than your control. Sometimes the most supportive thing you can offer isn't a strategy, a consequence, or a motivational speech. It's a regulated nervous system. And that work starts with you. Now, before I go, an important note. This is just my perspective based on what I've observed and learned. It's not therapy. It's not medical advice. If you're genuinely concerned about your teen's mental health, please reach out to a qualified professional. There's no substitute for that. But for everyday worries, for the messy middle of raising humans, maybe the answer isn't doing more. Maybe it's calming down. Thanks for watching. If this resonated, feel free to share it or don't. Either way, I hope it gave you something to sit with. And remember, parenting teenagers isn't about preventing every mistake. It's about creating a home where mistakes don't destroy connection. See you next time.